Hello, Zuko here. It is time for my June wrap up. Now, I took a 2-month reading hiatus because life has been stressful. So I only managed to read 9 books in June, which I'm sure sounds like a lot to some people, but it's not a lot for me. I also DNF'd 2 books. So let's get into them, I guess. So the first book I read in June was I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. This is Casey McQuiston's first YA book. This is a contemporary kind of romance mystery. Think Paper Towns for the first half of it, but it's queer. There's a main character who has a name. I'm sure of it. About this main character, Chloe, who is rivals with this girl named Shara. And one day, Shara kisses Chloe and disappears, leaving a trail of mysteries. Chloe's not the only person that Shara has kissed, however. There's Smith, who is Shara's boyfriend, and Rory, who is Shara's neighbor. And so the 3 of them are on this hunt to find all of the clues to find Shara, who went missing on prom night. This book was fun. I really like the cover. It's so green, but then the spine is so pink and it's so pretty. It's just a pretty book. It's like a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was fun, you know? Then I read Dead Collections by Isaac Fellman. This is an adult kind of vampire book, kind of not. And someone I saw today described one of the main characters in this book as the most dysphoria-inducing character they've ever seen. This is about a trans man who is an archivist, so they keep everybody's memories, I guess. I kind of missed the beginning a little bit of that. They live at the archive. He meets, whose name is Elsie, who is the widow of a television writer who made a piece of media that Soul, the vampire, really liked, and they end up hooking up. I didn't expect this to be an adult book, I'm gonna be honest, because it has the same kind of cover as Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White. They look the same, so I kind of assumed they were in the ssame genre and it was just a new trend. It's not YA. Book has at least one explicit sex scene that I was not prepared for, which is fine. I listen to audiobooks and I don't like headphones. So all of a sudden I'm minding my own business and someone just starts explicitly describing sex and I'm very caught off guard. This book was weird and it kind of felt like it was trying to be character driven, but the characters weren't enough to keep it I don't know. I liked it, but I also didn't love it. It was short and it was fine. I wanted to like it more than I did because queer vampires are my favorite, but Soul wasn't the kind of vampire that you expect vampires to be, and it just wasn't maybe my favorite. So I give this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Howell by Sean David Hutchinson. This is about a boy who is attacked by a monster after he's been partying one night and drinking too much. And he ends up out in the swamp, I guess, and gets attacked by a monster. This book uses being attacked by a monster and turning into a monster as an allegory for sexual assault. So there's a lot of really victim-blaming language in here. And all in all, this book just felt really bleak. There was no hope in this book. The character, I don't think, ever really gets closure. I didn't enjoy reading this book because there was nothing enjoyable about it. And I don't know. I wanted it to be a queer werewolf book. And it was queer, but it was just queer depression. And no, thank you. 2 out of 5 stars. Then I read Not Good for Maidens by Tori Bovolino. This book follows dual timelines of a girl who falls in love with a goblin and goes into the goblin market and then does something to get a goblin killed, and then her and her sister go on the run to America to escape the goblin market. And the other perspective is the daughter of the sister of the girl who had things happen to her. And she now has to go back into the goblin market to find a family member that has been taken by the goblins. It's a fun premise, but it wasn't creepy enough for me. I wanted the goblins to be, first of all, not love interests, okay? For full stop, don't make goblins love interests. I wanted it to be creepier and unsettling, and there was a lot of mentions of oh, there were human body parts on the counters of the market stands, but it was always used as decor more than something to be unsettled by. And the author would do this really weird thing that I hated because it made me aware I was listening to an audiobook instead of just casually listening to a story, It made me aware of the writing, I guess, listening to this audiobook, where she would be she was under the table, so I bent under the table to look for her, or there was a band around her neck, almost closed around her neck. And they she just kept repeating words that felt really redundant, and maybe she was trying to write an NaNoWriMo novel and it never got edited out. I hated that. It really took me out of the story because it just felt clunky. And yeah, I wanted to love this book because Goblin Market sounded really fun, but I didn't. I didn't love this book. I'm sad about it. I gave this a 2.53 out of 5 stars. Then I read 6 Angry Girls. This is a book about 6 girls who join a mock trial team because one of the girls gets kicked out of the actual school's mock trial team, she was the only girl on the team. She got kicked out because the boys were being misogynist and assholes, kind of. And it's just a bunch of girls who have like been kind of treated shitty, and they join this mock trial team, and they have to go up against these boys, and they face a lot of adversity. And also, some of them take up knitting, and there's like a bunch of grannies and stuff who are knitting for politics and to mail like knit vulvas and stuff to politicians, and it's just really fun. I had a lot of fun with this book, and I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read Alien Echo by Mira Grant. This is a YA novel set in the Aliens/Predator/Prometheus, I think, universe. I've never seen any of those movies. This was my first media I consumed based around that, and it wasn't good. There's a big plot twist that's revealed way too early in the book to be impactful. And instead of this being like a slasher survival horror kind of book, which is kind of what it sounded like, it's about this girl falls into love with this other girl, and then everyone around them dies. And they don't have any emotions about the fact that everyone around them dies. The tone was just weird. There was no tone in which you actually felt like you gave a shit about the characters, or that the characters gave a shit about the characters. It just felt really like kind of flat the whole time. There was no emotional impact. So I didn't like this book. So it was like 1.52 stars out of 5. Then I read In Deeper Waters by F.T. Lukens. I love this cover so much. But the cover and the synopsis made me think this book was going to be like a pirate, prince, kind of enemies to lovers maybe book. And it's not. It's a prince, mermaid, insta love kind of book. I really liked that the world that this is set in, queerness was completely the norm and there was no homophobia. That was great. But I just wanted more out of the romance. I guess maybe I just have to write the book that I want to see, but I don't want to do that. This was fun enough, you know? I gave this like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was fine. The cover is really good, but it wasn't what I wanted. Then I read Mended by Alex E. Harrow. This is the sequel to A Spindle Splintered. Yes, these are I think, series of novellas that are essentially portal fantasies and feminist retellings of fairy tales that involve a terminally ill protagonist. The first book follows the Sleeping Beauty storyline, I believe. And in this book, we are taken to the multiple retellings of Snow White. And this book involves a like MILF version of the Evil Queen, which is very fun. These books are queer. These books are fun. These books are adult, but not so far that I've found that they were like really explicit or anything. But I found this book to be more fleshed out than the first one, and I really enjoyed it. So I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. And lastly, I read Spellbook of the Lost and Found by Moira Fowley-Doyle, which I swear I've been telling myself I was going to read every October for like 5 years. I finally did it. I liked this book, but there are like 7 or 8 or 9 characters who are all named after plants. I'm bad with names on a good day. I couldn't figure out who was who half the time. And at the beginning there were 3 perspectives, and by the end there were still 3, but 2 of them were kind of, the groups were together. So it was like less confusing, but I just found it kind of hard to follow along when there were like 6 characters who in my head all had the same name. But this is about a town where after a high school party one night, things start to go missing, and they find a spell book that tells them how to find lost things. It's just like a whole ordeal. It's really fun. This book is set in, I believe, Ireland, and the narrator uses an accent which makes it fun to listen to but not hard to understand, which I really enjoyed. This book also does include mentions of a sexual assault, so be wary of that, but I thought this book was fun enough. One of the main couples was queer. I don't know, I'm really like trying to decide if I'll ever read this again. I kind of want to because I feel like I missed things, but I also kind of don't want to. But I feel like I've gotten as much out of it as I'm going to get. And lastly, I DNF'd 2 books. So one is Life is Short and Then We Die by a bunch of people, edited by Kelly Armstrong. I just hauled this. But if you've been around for a while, you know I don't like anthologies, but I keep buying them. This one sold me because it said it was written, they had a story by R.L. Stine, and I read that and it was fine. I don't like anthologies. I just don't like them. I'm gonna be done with them, I think, for now. Maybe forever. I think I made it 2.5 stories into that one before I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to be here anymore. And lastly, and I don't, maybe people are gonna get mad for this one, but I did DNF the Falling in Love montage. Just because I don't think I love contemporary romances. I think we know that. And I'm not like a big rom-com fan because I'm an asexually romantic person and I would like my books to have plot that isn't just, we fell in love, you know? So this book just wasn't for me, which means I get to pass it along. So that's exciting. This is about some girls who are like, let's just have a romance for the summer and then we'll both go away to college so it doesn't matter. But then they develop real feelings. You know, it's one of those That just doesn't interest me, I think. So these are the books that I read in DNF in the month. Let's split them up into the ones I'm keeping versus the ones I'm not keeping. Unclear with that one. I am keeping you because your cover's really pretty. You can fuck off. I really liked this book, but I'm gonna get rid of it because I think it would do better somewhere else. I'm gonna keep this book for now. I don't want that book. And I'm keeping these. So out of all of these books, I'm getting rid of 5. I'm unclear on 1, and I am keeping 5. That's pretty good, I think. Okay. That's it for now. So yeah, let me know down below your favorite thing that you read in June and whether or not you read only queer books in June. I did for the most part, except I tried to read this, but then I immediately DNF'd it, so I don't think that really counts as not reading only queer books. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I will see you whenever I do my next video.